Hello, bonjour, welcome to Air 5 Chickens. Gonna do a quick demo flight around Vancouver in the Dreamfoil Bell 407 running X-Plane 10. Hello, bonjour, welcome to Air 5 Chickens. Let's start this again. Hello, bonjour, and welcome to Air 5 Chickens. We're going to do a quick demo flight around Vancouver, CY Victor Romeo, in the Dreamfoil Bell 407, running X-Plane 10. And it's just going to be more of a demo flight that I'm going to use for some demonstrations of X-Plane's capabilities at a later date. So I'm going to stream it while I'm running it, but I will be recording it for some other fancy stuff as well. So, welcome to the stream, and let's get started. So, we're sitting at the heliport for Vancouver Harbor. We've got some custom scenery running. We've got a custom skin for the 407 in honor of the Calgary 88 Olympics, right down to maple syrup, corporate sponsorship, and the ever-important mustache on the front. So let's hop in the machine here. So the great thing about the Dreamfoil 407 is it's got a lot of external features. So you can actually, once I get my hand on the nose here, I can bring up a ground power unit. I can adjust the physical configuration of the aircraft if I wanted low skids or high skids. I can add floats since we're going to be departing over water, and I can add a ski basket, but I won't. Unfortunately, I can't run floats and a ski basket. And I can also tie the blades down to stop them from spinning. I can also throw in a camera and open up the battery compartment if I wanted to disconnect it. And I could also get rid of the hook. So we'll set her up that way. And then I can do vertical reference window door. Sliding window doors. But I like the high visibility doors. And we'll get rid of the ground power unit. Okay, so we can check our fuel. And we're pretty much full right now. Let's make her a little lighter here. And we can check our weight and balance with the aircraft. So we're at 500 pounds of fuel and 700 pounds of payload. So our total is 3,954. So we're doing pretty good. And let's increase our payload here. Let's say we've got 4 300-pound or more on board. Some beasties. And let me hop in the machine. Come on, door. There we go. Step in the cockpit. So, pre-flight checks. We've got our flight controls. Left and right pedal, cyclic, collective, throttle, all the way to return, close the throttle. That's good. And we already have the blades untied, so we come up, everything's off static. We're at sea level. Fuel valve can come on. Transponder is off. Don't know if this one has a gauge. No, it doesn't. And you can check the upper panel here. So boost pumps come on, they'll stay off, and any collision light comes on, and then the battery. Listen to this thing honk away. Wait for the second horn. There we go. Check the lights. Check for any exceedances. Nothing showing up. And check everything's got full. 24 volts, 19 degrees. 522 pounds of fuel on board. And there he is, clear, blades are untied. So, starting at 407, set it to idle. Engage starter. Starter engage. Good light off. Monitor the temperature. Blades are turning. There's 62, starter's out. Engine is stabilized, rotor's coming up a little slow. That's just the simulator. Everything's stable, generator on, avionics on, and the other lights on. Cage. Turn to standby. And we're not talking the tower, so we'll just go right to it.
Okay, thanks. Speed is pilot's discretion.
Radio's on.
132, good day, air transit 395.
And let's head to, I'll bring this into a pop-out so it's a little easier to see. Let's go to Pit Meadows.
Glacier 561 left heading 150.
And we'll go, oops. So it simulates a GNS 430, more or less. You can actually, so we've got that, and there's any procedures. So there's an RNAV GPS approach for Pit Meadows. But we're just going to go to nav. There we go. And we'll set the GPS for the CDI. Cage, you please. Alright, so we've got simulated radio. Temperature's good. We can put that on so we can actually hear it. And all the lights that we need are up and running. Okay. So don't know what the pre-start checks on a 407, or sorry, pre-run-up checks on a 407, but there is a hydraulic light indicator. There's a hydraulic light. We have cyclic centering. And we'll go with that. So we know trims are centered already. Can center the trims. Landing light. We'll bring the throttle up. Turn the landing light on. Transponder's on. Navigation's punched in. We could bring our decision height up to 100 feet. And we had a good indication of wind here. There's that sock.
Just 308, Anchor Bravo, runway 08 left, descent 5,000.
The sock was like right here.
Roger.
There it is. Oh yeah. So it looks like we're going to go up and over.
Roger.
We're calling Charlie, add in again, please. Foxtrot, Sierra Juliet Victor, just off Pit Meadows Airport. We're VFR to...
Okay, no lights. T's and B's are good. Everything's in the green. Everything's reset that we need. Looks important. So, let's get this thing airborne. Torque's coming up. Clear right. Clear left.
Roger, Rouge 1879, speed 170 knots, tower now 11955.
Go to aft cyclic. Get the nose in. Pedal.
We won't need 5.5. Actually, if we could request 3.5 eventually,
Let's
that would
not
be
drift.
great.
Let's just get going.
Stop at 3,500.
66% torque. Moving forward. There's the airspeed. It's going to be an off departure. 60 knots. Keep the nose forward. We can pull a little more power to get that max continuous in the MGT. It looks like 685, 690, 80% torque. NG's good, 705. I'm happy with that for climb. Let's get that airspeed into a climb. And let's get up to 1,000 feet as quickly as we can here.
Try that again. China Southern 329 Heavy, Vancouver arrival, runway 08 left, altimeter setting 3002.
1,000 feet, 100 feet to go. Trim this thing out. It's a little windy today. There's altitude. We're just coming on track here. Over the mountain range, we can follow the river. And we're busting our altitude. I said we wanted to go to 1,000 feet.
7 kilo alpha, you're clearing my airspace to the west. I'll terminate radar service. You're cleared on route. 7 kilo alpha, good day, sir.
So, you're airborne, T's and P's in flight. We're all good. We're at 680 on the temp, 77 on the torque, so we're in cruise power setting, and we're fighting the climb and airspeed limit anyway, so we don't really want to pull any more pitch. We could probably save a little gas. Go to 70% there. Definitely motoring along. Our ground speed is 117 knots, so we're looking at a 12 knot headwind, 12-15 knot. So I'm running for scenery. It's a photoreal orthographic scenery of the Vancouver area. It's made by a company, well, it's free. It's made by a website called SimHeaven. And graphics-wise, I've got a 4 gigabyte video card. It's a GeForce 970 and a quad-core CPU. And then flight controls-wise, I'm using a set of pedals, cyclic, and a throttle control as a collective. So it's pretty analogous to a real aircraft. And then monitor-wise, I'm running a 27-inch single display. Bust my altitude here a little bit. For cyclic friction, I've taken a joystick and removed the spring completely, so it's a very light touch, just as if it were like a Jet Ranger. It would be nice to have a full travel in between my legs, kind of cyclic, but for now this is pretty good. We're right of track quite a bit because I'm talking instead of flying. And our altitude, but our ground altitude is 1,000 feet, so we're still legal. So 130 knots in the air, 117 on the ground, so 15, 18 knot headwind. The other thing that the scenery does is it improves the terrain resolution a fair bit as well. And then I have a plugin called Real Terra Haze, which creates that blue horizon haze at the end. So we're at 1,500 feet. You can see out to the west there, we've got some clouds. No problems there. We're at 1,500 now. The other thing the Real Terra Haze does is it improves the cloud shadow, so the ground actually does interact with the overhead lighting and shadows. I have a very large, I have 32 gigs of RAM to maintain this, because the scenery does take quite a large amount of RAM to run, because you're loading in high resolution textures. But it makes it worth it for Dead Reckoning and VFR flight. So this is Burnaby Narrows. That's Simon Fraser Hill over there, Glardy. This is Coquitlam coming up ahead of us. It's due west. The hospital's over there somewhere. I started building helicopter pads for the hospital, but I haven't finished them, so they aren't worth approaching at this point. I do have one over in Richmond somewhere that's kind of interesting, but we'll just head this way. Gives you an idea of scenery. That little jerkiness there is it's loading scenery of the next tile, so there is. I use a solid state drive for to store X-Plane on because it's about 100 gigs worth of information, and to load it quickly you do need a fast solid state drive.
Glacier 581 cross, second speed 170 knots, tower 11955. Cross second 170, tower 1955.
So, I'm not sure what the date of this photo scenery is, but it's fairly recent. There's a yard there, and it doesn't simulate the bridges. Is the only downside. That would be like there's basic. It uses a procedural generation engine to create the roads and terrain and bridges and buildings, so it assumes based on land data where bridges would be, but the detail of the bridges is not very good, obviously. So that would be the Port Man, but it's not great.
340 pass forward now, okay? Jazz 60, will do.
There's Coquitlam. So 4.5 miles out from Pit Meadows. Should be able to see it. There it is, dead ahead. It's a runway. Let's see if we can pull up the ATIS. I'm flying and typing at the same time.
Orca 101, proceed direct taxi.
125.0. I know, in real life we'd be already on this, and let's see if the ATIS works. It may not, because we're already inside the zone for Pit Meadows at this point. I just want to see if I can get the wind.
Check request, standby. Cat 239.
180 at 12. And altimeter 3001. Not good enough.
050, clear the RNAV runway 08.
So we'll approach from the north. Let's get the power back.
WestJet 447, arrival now.
Start our descent.
331, good day, WestJet 447.
Cat 239.
Where's the helipads? So I'll just go right to the ramp, across the runway.
Tango Delta, flying 8 right, that'll be the RNAV approach.
We're high and fast, so let's extend it. Since we're not flying, we're fooling around.
7,300 for 5,000, applied speed 210. 447 arrival, runway 08 left, descend 4,000. Descend 4,000, WestJet 447.
Trim. Pitch for 60.
Help, speed 160 knots when you're able. Phone 160 now, Jazz 60. Jazz 60, roger, contact tower 11827. 418.7, thanks a lot, Jazz 60.
Rate of descent is high because we're trying to get down into something reasonable.
239, descend 5,000.
Bring the power back in.
5,000, Canada 239. I will press 1175 out of 194 for 10,000.
1175, heavy Vancouver arrival, runway 08 left, altimeter 300.
8 left, sir, and 1175. On the deck.
See if we can do a better approach than our takeoff. So we'll just go to the northwest of the tower there. We would have asked nicely for permission across.
United
Let's clean
1913,
this thing up a
traffic
little.
class 5 miles northbound dash 8, climbing to 1,000 feet below your
It's
cleared
50 knots on the nose, rate of descent, it's good.
Roger, sir.
Final checks, T's and P's are all in the green. We got 490 pounds of fuel on board and a fair amount of people in the back. So we'll keep her nice and shallow and bring the power in as we approach here.
239, arrival now, 132.
Oh, there's a weather change and scenery load, so it's a little abrupt. We are with this dog leg to the left here because we're actually not into wind. There's 40 knots, 60 miles an hour on the nose. We'll keep the speed up until we get too close. Power's coming in, 40%. Nice and shallow. We're a little fast now, so let's keep that constant adjustment. Get that airspeed back now as we're crossing the threshold. Don't want to sink through with a bunch of fatties on board.
And 236, climb 16,000. 16,000, that's 236.
The plane was there a couple minutes ago. Right here will be good. Okay. Slowing up. Still slowing up nicely. 200 feet a minute down. And we should come right into a hover without much. With this power setting, 56%. We use 65 to get out of here at sea level. There's 57. 65 in a hover. No, 60. We're sinking just a little. And we'll just go right to the ground. Second centered. These P's are good. And make sure that we're clear of the taxiway. Yeah, lots of room. Alright, passengers get out.
37, level 10,000.
So we're going to get rid of our passengers. Go down to, let's say, one pilot. And they're going to pick up a 1,000-pound sling load. There's our sling load.
Air Canada 239, descend 2,000. 2,000, Air Canada 239.
Throttle's going back up. Still got 480 pounds of fuel on board. T's and P's are the green. RPM's coming up. Transponder's still on.
1955.
And we're going to sling this thing to Abbotsford.
United 1913, 8,700 for 5,000. Air Canada 239, turn left heading 110, but ILS approach runway 08 left. Heading 110, cleared ILS approach 8 left, Air Canada 239. Thanks, United 1913, Vancouver Alpha, descend at 3,000, runway 08 left. 3,000 for runway 08 left, United 1913. Yes. 34-4. 34-4,
X-ray, X-ray.
Center 135.
X-ray.
135, 3-0, and 136.
Off 204, center 134-4.
And CYXX.
3532, this is Visibility more than 10. 239, second 1135. At 84, descend to 8,000.
119.8. 180.12, so we're going south. That's 119.8.
Tango Delta, descend to 2,000. Descend to 5,000.
2 and 0, 10. Okay. The lights, T's and P's are on. Nav lights are already on. We're going to sling this thing over the fence directly to the south. So let's see what we take to get out of here. Coming up. And throttle's at full. We're lighter in the shell. Well, let's get rid of this drift. No mirror, unfortunately, so just have to blindly get into the air here until I feel the tug. There's the tug.
Oscar 582, descend 5,300.
5,300, bound still 582.
62, 670, we're going to temp out before we torque out. There's positive. Creeping into the air here.
That's a 1084, descend 4,000.
Descend 4,000 up at 1084.
67, let's pull a little more torque. There we go. 72%, 700 degrees. Pitching forward. Got 100 feet below us.
Oscar 582, turn left heading 150.
150, pass, go 5.
Airspeed's good.
110, clear the ILS, 18 left, United 96.
Roger, runway 0 lead left.
Runway 0 left, United 96.
Yes. Tango Tango, Delta, hold that speed for another 3 miles.
There's 60 knots, 500 feet. We can turn downwind.
We're hitting 160.
160, Whiskey Bravo Kilo.
Turn on route.
Oscar 582, descend at 3,600.
3,600, bound still 582.
Let's keep it at 80 knots. Just so she doesn't swing like crazy. So it's a short line simulation and it doesn't really sway or have any aerodynamic properties to it. It's just a straight down pole, really, with a bit of sway. So it's not a perfect long line simulator by any means. Let's trim this thing out, we're flying dirty.
280, Delta 1084.
1175, speed 210 knots.
210 knots, they're 10 to left 75.
It's 90 knots. We can probably afford to slow this thing down. It's flying nice aerodynamically though, so let's just keep going. Oops.
That's 274, arrival, runway 0 left.
6 turn left directed, victory on course.
Left direct victory on course, Russia 170.
450 pounds left. Definitely within our power setting limits. We stay under 100 knots here.
Delta 1084, descend at 3,000.
3,000, Delta 1084.
We got 15 miles. We're showing a little bit of a tailwind. 102 knots on the ground. 196 knots it looks like on the nose.
Departure 80, Mike Lumley is with you in the turn for the race 6.
So the ATC that we're hearing in the background is liveatc.net. It's just a radio stream from Vancouver Approach. It's a combination of a couple frequencies, but it's like CYVR terminal, and so it's got arrival, high outer, a low inner, departure north and south, and then the ILS monitor, and then TSRA. So the Terminal Service Advisory, I think it is. TRSA.
Oscar 582, cleared, ILS runway 08 left.
Fortunately, Abbotsford doesn't have a live radio stream, or else I'd probably flip to that one.
Delta 1084, turn right 8030.
But it adds to cockpit noise and distraction, so it's good. It's a little bit more of an immersion level. I like it. Normally I use Pilot Edge, which is a real live person that you talk to, and but at the moment I just have to renew my subscription because I've been busy in a way, and just haven't gotten around to it. So we're coming into the Abbotsford zone soon here. Let's see if we can bring it up on the GPS. No, I don't. No.
Okay, Sierra Mike Romeo, contact center 13532.
13532, 80 Sierra Mike Romeo, phone.
Oh, maybe not.
170 at action, still 582.
It's not showing the... Huh, interesting. The 530 shows the airspace. So this is Highway 1 that we're following right now, just off our right. So Langley airspace is... that's Langley over there. Langley Airport. We're probably inside Langley zone right now.
Oscar 582 Tower, 11955.
1955 now, still 582.
There's Slave Lake, Matsqui, Mission. There's Mission, there's Matsqui. There's Abbotsford, there's the 264th interchange up ahead. And then just over the hill will be Mount Lehman. There's you can see the runway up there in the distance. What are we doing for ground speed? There's no DME on this aircraft, so just airspeed. Let's flip the frequency. Was it this switch? There we go.
1600 Zulu weather. Sky conditions 1500 scattered. Visibility more than 10.
Permits down to 2 now.
Affirmative. 10 at 10. Altimeter 3002. Arriving and departing runways 19.
So on the 407 you can adjust control sensitivity. I have mine, let's see what it's set to. 30% for pitch and roll and 10% for yaw. So that's the amount of dampening that your control inputs get for additional stability. I find that anything below 40 is fairly realistic. Anything less than 10 is you're over pitching constantly. So it's because the real aircraft has mass and there is some dampening to it, so it's not instantaneous. So I think that 30% for my flight controls is pretty good. If you have really low resolution flight controls that you're fighting with a spring or something all the time, you may want to turn up your dampening so that it makes it more enjoyable, because at the end of the day it's a training tool, but it's also a game. I mean, it's meant to be both. You take it how you want it to be. Oh, shut up. Okay, anyway, ATIS. 1500 scattered, visibility of 10, 210 at 10, 3002, close enough. Okay, you can shut up now. Looks like we're about 8 miles back from, about 5 miles from the interchange. Yeah, 5 miles from the airport. Oops, don't want that. So, we're slinging a load. We're at 100 knots. So you see me talking instead of flying. I busted my speed. Not paying attention. Winds out of 210 on the Rose. We are heading 110. So we'll approach from the east to the pad, across the runway.
274, speed 150 knots. Roger, and you're following a 777 about 6.5 miles, caution wake turbulence.
And we'd be calling Abbotsford Tower way back, looking for vicinity pad alpha, and then call at Mount Lehman.
Fly heading 160, descend 900,000. 160 down to 900,000.
Got 1,000 feet below us, so we're still legal. There's the power lines. There's the Mount Lehman interchange just ahead. A big mess. So we'll approach from the... They'll probably want us to stay east of, or west of 19 here. But I want to go to the Chinook building there. So we're going to have to extend parallel to the approach, the extended center line there. So we'll just start slowing down now. There's the interchange.
That's 204, descend 7,000.
Lots of trees. Let's get this thing back to 60 knots. These things happen quickly at 100 knots.
Top India Romeo departure rate identified, climb 3,000.
Climb 3,000, top India.
Don't want to overspeed that rotor.
Good luck.
Good luck.
Vancouver, Kansas 213 for 15,000.
Headed 297, arrival, runway 08 left, and speed restriction at landing canceled, descend 14,000.
No speed at landing, descend 14,000 now for attention.
There's 60 knots. Start our turn in. We'll extend it.
KOS 6251, contact center 13532.
500 feet.
Departure
Down.
Foxtrot Delta Hotel Delta's with you 1,800, climbing 7,000.
Delta Hotel Delta departure identified, climb 16,000.
Climb 16,000 now for Delta Hotel Delta.
Navajo. There's the center line, so we can creep our way in. There's 50 knots.
Delta Hotel Delta.
Got the pad that I want to go
Turn
to.
heading 160, Delta Hotel Delta.
Go right over top of Sequoia's hangar there. Not really.
Canada 297, descend 10,000.
10,000,
500 feet per minute. There's 60 miles an hour. Let's try and keep our airspeed up for a little bit here. Bring in some power to shallow this up a little. So we're a little early. There we go, nice and stable. Got a load underneath us, so we're 30 feet taller. Let's do this flyby and check. And we can take a look and see we're centered. Can't really do a face down landing. The best I can do is kind of like this. So we'll just stay inside until we absolutely need to. And we needed, what was it, 75% torque to get out of there before, so let's get our power setting high and our airspeed low to start here. So there's 30 knots, 35 knots. Nice and shallow, we're at 40% torque. We're not really descending at the rate I would like, so let's... Then we're aiming for 30 feet past the pad. And we're out of wind here, so let's make our lives easier. There's that airspeed. What's that for vortex?
Victor Golf Romeo, squawk it in, code your request. Victor Golf Romeo, squawk it in, code your request.
Victor Golf Romeo, just crossing over Gower at 1,900 feet. We're trying to get over to Nanaimo, request 4,500 feet.
Victor Golf Romeo, your radar identified and after 4,500 towards Nanaimo is approved. Vancouver altimeter 3002.
Thanks very much, Victor Golf Romeo.
It's going to be non-precision. Well, let's just get myself where I think the pad is. Just kind of creep our way over here. Oh, see. Without that 3-point, the reference. Oh, there we go. We're on the ground. I can feel it. Let's see where the line is. Don't have a mirror, so I don't want to back into my load. Where's my load? Yeah, right under the tail. Good spot for it, Ian. Anywho, that's probably the worst thing about this is there's not really a long line simulation or like here. We'll pretend it's not there. I'll just spin this machine around so we can face it. So we're butts into our wind here. That thing's 1,000 pounds, so it's not going to move without too much effort. See, I really wish that someone would make a mirror. Oh, see. It's just jerking me around. Anyway, let's get rid of that load before I crash this aircraft, because I think I have an engine fire. I do. Time to get out. Fuck it. It's an emergency. Get out. I probably should turn the battery off. Crash, died, burn. Alright, so let's reset this thing. And we have a new aircraft. Crashes. 20 crashes. I've logged a few I've killed a few 407s. Alright, so throttle is off. Now let's do some emergency procedures. So... fuel valves on, pumps, collision light, battery, $195. Yep. Areas clear, rotors are untied, throttle's fully closed. 407, engage the throttle, engage the starter. There's the NG coming up. There's the light off. Monitor temperatures. There's good light. 62, starter's out. Generator is on. Avionics are on. Fancy switches are on. Other lights are on. And we will skip the run-up checks on this one because we already know it's a helicopter. So we're just going to assume that we just restarted, so we can go right to full. Landing lights on, starters disengaged. 400 pounds of fuel. Let's check our weight and balance. 400 pounds. Yeah, that's pretty. Let's go to 500 pounds. We're at a good training setup. No sling load this time. And you'll notice the skids actually deflect a little bit based on the weight of the aircraft. And radio's on.
Shut out Echo, descend to 8,000. Down 8,000.
There's a radio. There's the Chinook. My crappy Chinook building. Just enough to have an analog for it. 195. We're just going to do circus the infield. Transponder is on. Ready to go.
Yeah, 353, arrival now, 1331.
Winds. What's the winds here?
United 1106, wind ready.
210.
10,000.
Alright, let's see if we can do a couple autos. Coming up. Clear right. Clear left. Coming up.
2,000. Destiny 170, 2,000, Canada 297.
Let's get over to the taxiway here. Let's make sure it's clear to the left for traffic. The approach is good. And Abbotsford Tower. Golf, Foxtrot Golf. Ready to go. Circuits for the infield. Circuits approved. Cross runway 19. Post haste. 50 knots. 60 knots. Airspeed, altitude, trim. Stay north of 27. We'll go to 1,000 feet in the circuit. Watch our VSI limit there at 2,000 feet. This thing climbs like a rocket anyway.
Thank you. Jan 353, descend to 3,000. 3,000.
There's 1,000 feet. Get the cruise airspeed going. Trim this thing out. Clear to the left. There's the lake thing. We'll circuit around that. Let's watch our climb. Got the airspeed. We're going to have to pitch this thing back just a little. We're light. I can work with 100 feet. So we're going to go for the center of the star for the first auto here. Winds are out of the 210, so we know that. We got the star coming around. Got a ton of airspeed on, so we'll see how this works out. I bet you we'll be long on my first call. So I'm going to establish and then roll back when I feel, because I feel like we're just honking along here already. So T's and P's are in the green, no lights, no problems, and practice engine failure. Collective down, pedal to the right, watch that rotor RPM. There's 60 knots. 1,800 feet a minute down. Rotor RPM's in the green. Took a while to get up there. We're starting to creep up on the rotor RPM. Keep that 60 knots. There's 200 feet to go. 150. I'm going to check that RPM and pull a little collective in the flare here. She was a little balloony at the bottom there. How did we do? A little off. A lot off. Would have died if it was a little tiny island on the island. Or in the river. Road RPM's coming back. So, RPM dipped pretty low and was slow to come up. So, but we're still well within the green. Okay, no lights, T's and P's are good. Atmosphere tower, blah blah blah. Circuit to the infield. And the hover controls are still good. T's and P's are in the green, and max performance. 700. 720. There, we're into takeoff power. Let's get that airspeed going. 40 knots, 50 knots. There, we can turn down wind. Definitely have the altitude already. Trim this thing out a little bit. We got the airspeed already, we got the altitude coming in. That worked out nicely. Let's get the nose down a little bit. And we'll bring the power back just a titch. Because we were fast and high on the first entry, but let's aim to be consistently at 1,000 feet here. 120 knots, we're just honking along. Let's tighten. Turn, we'll stay inside of the call point for the highway. There's the runway. We're at 1,200 feet. Alright. T's and P's are in the green, no lights. 1,200 feet, 120 knots, high and fast in the descent. And practice engine failure. Here's a rotor RPM. Motor's out, ball's centered, airspeed's coming back. Watch that rotor RPM. Let's get our spot this time. Gonna be long. Let's bring that airspeed back. Back, 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 back. There we go. Well, now we're gonna be short. Nothing we can do about it. Oh, we gotta extend that glide a little bit so we don't hit that building. We're gonna run this on because we're out of air. Rotor's getting low. That was dirty. We're still sliding. Let's go to the instant replay on that one. Now let's see the flight path. Yeah, see? Look at that path. It would have been a little bit messy. So there's the entry. Speed it up a little. And glide extension. Could have done a little better on the flare at the bottom there. Oh, we didn't make our spot. Well, let's do a 180. It's still a successful auto rotation. That's her tower. Blah blah blah. Circuits to the infield. Blah blah blah. Circuits field proof. Stay north of 27. Nose forward. We'll get the airspeed first and work on the altitude on the reverse end. 40, 50, 60. Climbing. Turning. Abruptly turning because we are losing airspeed. Let's get power in. Honk on it. There we go. Airspeed and altitude. Downwind. That was dirty. Pinky slap. I wanted to do a 180, so we'll actually turn to the right here on the downwind. Cross the active. There's altitude. There's our spot. We'll enter from the right, so we got a left turn into the spot. And I'm going to call it probably right over the Conair building here, or a little bit more altitude just to be safe, but I'm sure we're going to be fast and high as usual. And bring the collective back, close the throttle, practice engine failure. Collective down, cyclic aft. There's my spot. Watch that rotor RPM in the turn. Airspeed. And we're going to extend to the left here because we are way fast and way high. Then we're going to go long. See how she balloons. That's the only thing about the sim is just hangs here. And we're already out our rotor RPM. But we made it there. Well, there being a 200-foot circle. RPM coming back. So we can, let's do this instant replay here as well. So let's go back. There's the entry. See a bit of a climb in a balloon. And then another balloon. It's like the last 10 feet are where it really kind of is hit or miss. Okay, T's and P's are in the green, rotor RPM's up, no lights, and we're just gonna pull into a hover here and see if we can do a hovering auto. So we'll come up, and we're into wind, T's and P's are in the green, and throttle cut. Cushion. That went pretty well. Shh, quiet. Spend more time waiting for the rotor to spool up than anything, which is fine. And we'll do one more. So we're about 10 feet, 15 feet up, and T's and P's are green, cycle control's good, throttle cut. Cyclic, forward, cushion, oh. Could have cushioned that one a little better. Scrape some paint. Let's see if we can do a stuck pedal. Okay, everything looks good. Stuck pedal exercise to the left. And lift. And let's see if we can compensate. There's centered. I don't have a beep. We can keep it centered, but we're still climbing like crazy. Stop climbing. Well, I guess we're flying it then. Shallow approach in. Gotta remember how to do this. It's been so long. So too much left pedal. She's gonna yaw like crazy. So let's see how slow we can get forward before we gotta drag it on. That was dirty. Anyway, I'm gonna have to revisit that one. Stuck pedals. I don't know on the 407 because I know on the Jet Ranger, even beeping it down all the way to the bottom and pulling for a left stuck pedal, it's in the exercises it's fine. But if you had a full left stuck pedal, you'd have to fly it on, and I haven't done a circuit in a stuck pedal in a while, so that's an exercise to do. Stuck right pedal is pretty straightforward, so we're clear right. Let's get up here. So a stuck right pedal, where your aircraft will get centered here and stabilized. Stuck right pedal is an uncommanded right yaw, and there's only really one response to it, so right turn, and she gets going, close the throttle, and it's just forward, get that yaw, oh, and not fall out of the sky like that, because that is, you just died. Let's see if I can reset this thing. There we go. Shush. A little too abrupt. I think that's it. We'll taxi back to the pad. And end the video there, since I've killed 2.5 helicopters, I think, in this little demo video. Alright, everything's more or less back to normal. No one's dead. Coming up. That was our tower circuit to Pad Alpha. Airspeed. Altitude, turning, because we're going to cross. Not going to 1,000 feet this time, because reason to, we're not shooting an auto. Leading a little left pedal, so I got some line of sight to the pad. We'll go for the second pad. Just go straight in. Again, gotta look past the pad. Sight picture is wrong, newbie. Thump. Honk. Transponder off. Down and clear with the tower. Landing light is off. And yeah. 2-minute timer. So that's kind of the basic demonstration of X-Plane 10, which is a commercially available flight sim. And the Dreamfoil Bell 407, which is a Payware aircraft. I'm using the Cytec X55 flight controls and the Cytec ProFlight foot pedals, which also have toe brakes for airplane stuff. And Sim Heaven scenery. And what else? Realterra haze. Some custom scenery I've made myself. As you can see, it's just overly professional. Look at that work. Just amazing. And my amazing professional paint job of the 407. With some amazing corporate sponsorship. What else? That's pretty much it. So, thanks for watching. Guys in the stream, have a great day. And we will just pretend that's 2 minutes and destroy this aircraft. Generator. Fancy lights, switches. That stupid starter. There's a bug in the model there. It continues to run the starter. Fuel valve's off, everything else is off. And there's 40% rotor. And battery. Okay, thanks for watching, guys. Have a